right, welcome out tonight to make your feet strong and connect to total body performance. Tonight's gonna be all about the foot. The foot's pretty awesome. Most of us stuff it in a shoe and forget about it, but there's also tons of Americans who are in foot pain, whether it's plantar fasciitis or neuromas or things like that. And we're gonna kind of delve into why that happens and why traditional advice of how to fix your feet doesn't work, obviously, because there's still tons of people in foot pain. So, a little bit about me. I'm gonna talk about myself every time because I love talking about myself, obviously. So I'm a licensed massage therapist, restorative breathing specialist, healthy foot practitioner, which is where this comes in, a neurokinetic therapist, original strength, scar work. See, I had to even look at my own writing, I don't even remember all of it. Myoskeletal alignment, I'm rock tape certified, and most importantly, I am Voodoo Magic certified, which is what my clients come to me for, is the Voodoo Magic. So that's a little bit about me. So what we're going to learn today, we're going to learn the basics of the foot, the basics of the foot function, kind of some basic anatomy, so you guys have some idea of really how the foot works. We're going to go over the myths. So a lot of the myths out there that they tell you to do for foot pain actually makes it worse, and you're going to learn why. So I have here like why doing the exact opposite of what's recommended is actually probably going to make your foot feel better, and you can have pain-free, happy feet, which if you have foot pain, that's what you want. So, basics of the foot. So the foot and ankle contain 26 bones. So that's 1/4 of the bones in the human body are in the feet. So pretty impressive. There are 33 joints in the foot. Again, quite a few joints. There's more than 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments that connect within the foot. Okay, it's pretty insane if you think about it. There's networks of blood vessels, nerves, skin, and soft tissue. So all these components work together to provide the body with support, balance, and mobility. So any structural flaw or malfunction, in any part of the body can develop, problems in the foot, or vice versa. Problems in the foot can develop problems in the back, and so forth. So really a foot problem is never really just a foot problem, and often it's not really a foot problem at all, which we're going to delve into. So, the foot and total body performance. So, the feet can actually impede other functions. Obviously, feet are kind of useful for walking. Without them, you couldn't walk. So, how your foot moves actually has repercussions all the way up to your head or your neck. So, if you have neck pain, you could have a foot problem. Or because of the neck pain, you could be causing the foot problem. It can go either way, up or down. So, you got to basically determine if the foot problem is from the foot or if it's coming from somewhere else, and we're going to go over how to do that. And often one of the most common things I see is there's a problem with core function, which causes the foot to tighten up to try to stabilize more. You can get some gripping, plantar fasciitis, different things like that because of a core that's not activating properly. So again, often the foot's not really the problem, and let's get on to the myths. So, myth number 1, my favorite. This is my favorite. Supportive footwear. You always get told to wear supportive footwear when you have a problem. You're like, support the foot, support the foot. But the thing about the foot is it doesn't need support. It's just like having your arm in a sling. Do you want to carry your arm in a sling to support your arm, every day? That's ridiculous, but it's what we do to the foot every single day. So oftentimes you're going to get recommended orthotics or more cushiony shoes, and you can have temporary relief, but it's kind of akin to you broke a bone and you're taking some painkillers. It's not healing the bone, but it's making you feel better. Okay, so the problem's still there. What happens too is when you immobilize the foot with orthotics or shoes that can't make you really feel the ground, it's going to cause more restriction actually in the foot, and it's going to cause the weakness to get even worse that you already have in those inner foot muscles. So the foot is actually amazing, and this is crazy for most of us to believe, is actually designed to support itself. Imagine that. It's actually designed to do that. So all these things like orthotics and stuff can be helpful kind of in the short term, but in the long term, they're not going to help, and they can make things worse. You got to think of the foot kind of like any other muscle. We train our chest or our biceps because we want to get them bigger and stronger. You got to train your feet too to get them better. So going on, what happens commonly with people, and I tell them to avoid this, is they're trying to transition out into different shoes, from cushiony shoes, and they try to go to like a 5-finger Vibram shoe or a totally minimalist shoe, and then they're like, wow, now I have plantar fasciitis, or my foot really hurts. And when you think about it, again, comparing this to lifting, it's like going from benching 100 pounds, and then the next week you're trying to go up to 200 pounds. You're just gonna be a flat pancake is what's gonna happen, and there's gonna be pain and suffering. Your feet are no different. They need time to adapt. And one of the biggest things you can do to actually improve that adaptation is walking barefoot, whether inside or outside. And ideally you want to walk barefoot without socks. So you want your feet to really feel the surfaces, feel the friction, because that's really important to developing that foot. So in the long run, supportive shoes, I'm not saying don't wear them at all, but they're not going to really help you recover and get out of foot pain. So what we're going to do right now is we're gonna see how well you can move your toes. So this is where it gets fun. So actually, I'll have you can move them right there, so you're good. Wanna get on this too? So we're gonna have you move your toes. You're gonna see how well you can spread your toes. So ideally, socks off for this so you can see your toes. And we're gonna see how well those little muscles in the foot works. We're gonna see how you did. Yeah, a little hard on that side? Yeah. It almost makes you want to like twist your body and try to like get it to work. Yeah, so how well can you spread those suckers? All right, so you're gonna gauge how hard it is. You might feel some cramping. That's not abnormal. As those muscles are trying to work. Cramping is actually a good thing. They're trying to work and they're not working very often. And your calves and your other muscles have to take up and get tight because of that. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to lift up just the big toe on each foot without lifting any of the other toes. There we go. There we go. Corey's like, what? I can't do it. I know the thumbs start going up and everything. Good. Now you're going to try to raise the second, third, fourth, fifth toes consecutively. Almost like kind of like strings going up. And then you're going to try to bring it down, starting with the pinky toe kind of back down in the cascading kind of effect. You're going to find this probably pretty hard. It makes your brain want to like vomit. So this gives you like a little inside, so you guys, you're good, yeah, don't let yourself cramp up there. This gives you an inside scoop in how well those little muscles are working. Guess what? Some people can't move them at all. You can move them a little bit, but there's cramping. And if you have tight calves, you know that this is part of the reason, okay? So we're gonna go on now to myth number 2. So myth number 2 is that the foot's actually the problem. And you know, with most people I deal with, there's endless amounts of stretching, massage, injections. Some people get surgery and it's still not better. And you would think at that point you'd realize the foot's not really the problem. It might hurt in the foot, but see, pain is tricky. So you can't just trust pain. So some people might get a little bit better because their main problem might be in the foot, but that's usually unusual. So again, going back to that supportive shoes kind of bind your feet and make things get all cramped up and not work well. Here's another big thing that we're not looking at. Most of us sit all day or throughout the day. Not all of us, but most of us do. And even if you're standing, it's a whole host of other problems, right? So, but sitting alters the functions of your glutes, your calves, and your hamstrings mainly. Hip flexors as well. So that means once you've been sitting for a while and you go to stand up, all the function of those muscles is altered. Usually your hip flexors are really tight, your calves get tight to try to support you because your glutes aren't working that well, and then your toes start gripping, and now you might have tired or hurting feet. And you can try to loosen those feet, but again, if you don't correct those things upstream, it's never going to resolve. And that usually gets ignored. Everyone's focusing on the feet. So if you're ignoring those other functions of those muscles, you're ignoring them at your own peril, and you might like being in pain. So again, the foot's a part of the equation, but it's not the only part of the equation. There's much, much more. There's stuff you have to do for the foot, but overall, you have to really connect the whole body. And here's a cool baby's feet, because babies are awesome. So we're going to see how the feet, and this is where you come in, Janelle. We're going to see how the feet and upper body correlate to compensation, okay? So we're going to get Janelle the volunteer here. Yes, you had no choice here. All right, let's have you lay here. All right, so I'm gonna check how well her hip flexors work here. And we're gonna check right here on this side, and you're gonna try to hold against my pressure. And she's a hard time holding. And Janelle, I know already from talking to her, has a slight knee issue on this side, so that makes sense. So we're gonna have her come up, we're gonna have her point her foot up and try to hold. And you can see now it's rock solid. What she's activating here are toe extensor muscles and what's called her tibialis anterior. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little work on it right now, and then we're gonna recheck. But basically what's happening is the top of these foot muscles are compensating for weak hip flexion. And from sitting, you can get either like weak and tight, or you could get what's called facilitated and tight. And facilitated is overworked, the inhibited or the weak is kind of underworked, obviously. So in this case, this is what's going on. And this is why testing is really important to figure out what's going on. So I'm gonna find a nice spot in here in a second. Yeah, she's gonna cringe like that, perfect. And we're gonna hang out here. And there's a lot of things you can do that we're gonna show you where you can use balls and different things to do this all on your own. All right, is that okay right there? You sure? So I'm gonna have you move your foot up and down. Awesome. And we're gonna do it real quick right now. You'll need more than this, but we're gonna spend about maybe 30 seconds at most trying to get this refunctional. But when you do this stuff on your own, you're gonna do some more time, and you're gonna do it repeated throughout the weeks and stuff. All right? Okay. It's a little wincing there. And yeah, this can be pretty tender, like Janelle's having over here, because sometimes you won't even realize how tight this is. But this muscle here is called the walking muscle. So when you walk, you use this muscle a lot. And it actually comes right up above the joint here, right by the knee, thus knee pain. Good, we're gonna have you relax. Let's see how that does. So we're gonna recheck it. Hold here. She's gonna have her foot relaxed and try to hold. And now that works. And it should feel easier and smoother in there. All right, you're all set. So that's a quick demonstration of how you can correct some knee pain from a foot issue. So, you know, you can get knee pain, back pain, hip pain, neck pain. You can have pain anywhere in the body from that. This happened to be a foot to the hip kind of issue, but you could have a hip to the foot. It can go lots of different ways, and we're gonna kind of teach you how to deal with all of those. And what I want you to think about here is like things you learn from that, how that might apply to you. So we're gonna move on to the next myth here. So going back to orthotics. This is another myth. Orthotics support my feet and provide relief. So in a lot of people's cases, this is actually true. They do get relief, but again, it's just symptomatic relief. And most of these people see me because they sprain their ankles, because their ankles are weak, because they're all cushioned on their feet, and they really have no stability, which is really important for this. So again, it's not solving issues, it's just treating symptoms. Some people will need them as a temporary tool to get out of the pain and really, so they can actually get to work and correct the foot. That's less common. The most rare is if you have a genetic deformity or structural issues, and you might require, so if you actually have a structurally short leg, which is a leg where the bone's actually shorter, you might need a lift or orthotics to help you with that. But most issues are functional, meaning they're correctable. They're usually muscle or other joint related like that. And I've literally seen one case in my career where someone had actually like really deformed feet that are actually true flat feet, which actually we're gonna talk about in a second. Most of you don't have true flat feet, even if you think you do. And we're gonna talk about that. But literally it's very rare. So if you're thinking this doesn't apply to you, it does. So here we go, myth number 4. I have flat feet or high arches. So most people come in with me with flat feet. I will have the occasional high arch where it's super, super tight. So here's the best thing I love telling people. You don't actually have an arch. Yeah. There is no structural entity in your foot. So just like you see an archway, there's some structure to it. There's no structure in our foot that creates an arch. What creates the arch is the muscles of the foot, those tiny muscles that we're trying to work and that you're trying to work, and they're cramping up and they're tight. And a lot of the times they're tight because they're weak, so we actually need to strengthen them versus trying to release them. We usually try to release them, right? So we're trying to release them, roll them. which isn't bad things, but there's ways to load the foot to strengthen it, which provides a somewhat of a release, but also a strengthening mechanism. So the flat foot conundrum, again, usually what's happening is you just have the collapse of the arch, and you just need to strengthen those muscles and you'll get an arch. I've basically helped most of my clients with so-called flat feet get their arch back within the matter of a session or two, especially when they're doing their homework. So one of the other things, if you have whether you have flat feet or high arch, is barefoot walking again. So you really need to get into the barefoot walking. You'll have most professionals tell you to stop walking barefoot because they're saying that's linked to your pain. And funny enough, it's going to keep contributing to weak ankles and feet and other issues like back pain that you come to me for. So whether you have the flat or the high arch, the solution is pretty much the same. And oftentimes in both situations, the muscles are weak, whether they're high or they're flat. So getting it more specific, myth number 5, we're going to talk about plantar fasciitis. Plantar fasciitis takes a while to leave is the myth. So for me in my practice, I've seen plantar fasciitis resolve in about 3 to 4 sessions on average. If people are good with their home stuff, they do the barefoot walking and the other things I give them, which we're going to give you in the program we're going to talk about. I've had one person where, he didn't have plantar fasciitis, to the T, but he had a lot of foot pain on the top and the bottom. His 4 years of foot pain, and he had surgery for this, his 4 years of foot pain was gone in a matter of weeks. In a matter of 2 to 3 sessions, it was almost completely gone. The 4th session, it was totally gone. And he had tried physical therapy, and again, the surgery, everything. And the simple things we did were able to alleviate the pain for him. So the thing to realize is pain doesn't have to take forever to leave. We think this has to take months and years and eternity. But most of the time pain stays because we're doing the wrong things, stretching the wrong things. And when you have the complete plan in front of you, you'll know what to do and the pain will start leaving faster. And there are, of course, variables. Some cases might be longer than the 3 or 4 sessions. That's just an average. But for the most part, the results are pretty quick and you'll be getting relief pretty fast. So, the whole body view we're going to look at, because like I said, I've talked a lot about the foot and the myths, but we want to talk about the whole body view around the foot. So some things that can affect your feet, like we talked about already, glute and core functions. So how well are your glutes working? Are they activating? Are the calves really tight? Usually the calves are really tight, you'll have a problem with the glutes. Do you have back issues? Do you have neck issues? Do you have pelvic floor issues? Do you have problem holding in your pee? When you jump, do you leak urine? Things like that. Those can all be related. If you've been involved in a car accident where you've suffered a concussion or whiplash, those, believe it or not, can affect your neck and thus affect your feet. Emotions are a big one, and stress. So stress at work, things like that. Emotions, funny or not, it's very symbolic, but it's also actually goes with it, is you feel like you're stuck in life? Do you feel like you're not moving forward? I find a lot of times that people have those emotional problems, have problems with their feet. They feel like they literally can't move forward, and it manifests physically. So, we're going to go over some quick strategies to restore pain-free feet. So, one thing we want to do is, this is slightly symptomatic, but it's also something we need to do to restore glute function, is we want to stretch or do manual work on what are called your extrinsic foot muscles, which are your calf muscle, the tibialis muscles, and you have what's called the peroneal muscles kind of running along here. All those muscles are huge, and those are indicated in everyone I've seen with plantar fasciitis or foot issues. But the key is here, you can't just release that stuff and expect everything to be okay. You have to combine that with glute and core activation. Oftentimes you have to improve the way you rotate your body, the way you walk has to be improved because it all works together. So things you can think about for activation are bird dogs, crawls, you can do segmental rolls, you can do diaphragmatic breathing, silent breathing, and a host of other things, but those are kind of my big go-tos for this. The other thing is what we went over earlier, kind of testing, is your intrinsic foot muscle activation. How well are those muscles in the feet actually working? And you want to strengthen those through the toe spreading, toe lifts, and you can get everything kind of moving individually, and everything's going to start working better. You focus less on the pain, focus more on the function, and the pain starts to go away. De-stressing is a strategy you want to use. So if you're stressed at work a lot or in life, whether you use meditation, breathing, showers, whatever it is, go see a movie, it doesn't matter what it is. If it gets you de-stressed, it's going to help you get through the foot pain and the foot problems. Again, dealing with the potential emotional causes like feeling stuck, huge one. Another thing is we want to do what I call integrative movements. So movements that are going to, over time, progressively load the feet. So you can do things like leopard crawls, you can do lunges where you're really focused on form and being slow and just really feeling that balance happen. You can do what's called loaded rocks where you're on 4 points, you're on your feet and your hands only. You can do rocks where you change the position of your feet, where you turn the feet in, turn the feet out, things like that. Basically to challenge that foot in any way possible while combining it with whole body movement is absolutely key. If you try to isolate the foot and do nothing else to the whole body, then you're just not going to get the results that you want. And one thing that's going to happen when your foot function improves is your balance is going to improve. Your proprioceptive feedback from your feet is going to improve. You're going to feel more stable. And pain in various areas of your body will probably start disappearing. And the last thing is loading the foot directly, which I hinted upon earlier. And that's basically using balls or other objects and basically different surfaces to stimulate the foot. So you can load your foot with a tennis ball. You can just put your foot on it and hang there into different positions of the foot to really stimulate those muscles to work in different ways. One thing that's really good, obviously, is walking barefoot outside in the grass, but even better is walking barefoot on rocks, on tile, on all kinds of different surfaces. A lot of times the more natural the better. It just works better to get all the 33 joints moving in concert, which can be hard to happen. Usually most of the joints are stuck. We're moving only a few of them at a time. So this gets all the joints kind of moving and working. And as you saw with Janelle earlier, if we kind of restore proper function to the foot muscles, then we can have things like the hip flexors work better or anything like that. So any questions you have, you can feel free to ask. I don't know if you had any questions. No? Answered everything pretty well? So yeah, I mean, you can try to do this on your own, but you're kind of playing a guessing game. It's like a Russian roulette. So the best way is to get assessed, obviously. But again, you can try and see what will work if you do some calf releases and stuff. But again, you're kind of just playing with it and kind of playing around not knowing what's going to happen.
So the recommendation is to get an assessment?
Yes, definitely. And no other questions? Yep, and here's one thing I will say about the sand. So it's good and bad in ways. So if your foot has gone from like a cushioned shoe to go to the beach, I've had this happen with clients all the time. They come back and they're like, oh my gosh, my knee hurts or something hurts. They start running on the beach barefoot and their foot's not ready for it. That being said, if you do some like basic walking, other stuff on the beach, you're fine. And it's super good because yeah, your foot really has to kind of stabilize and use all those joints. But again, you gotta be kind of like switching to the shoes. You gotta be smart about it. You start trying to go from walking to running on the beach, you're usually gonna be in pain if you're barefoot. So there's a bunch of different minimalist shoes in the market that actually like, they're called minimalist, but I don't consider them that minimalist, but they're kind of like a in between. So you can get, I think like the Nike Free is not bad. I got my shoes right here so I can show you what the minimalist kind of looks like. But the minimalist I can like obviously roll up. There's really nothing to it. I could fold it, put it in a bag if I wanted to. It moves. And you can see right here, like this all moves. On the, you want to give me actually your shoe? So yeah, on like this one's actually not bad, but on a regular shoe, you're gonna kind of get that point right there. And this doesn't really go right there. So you're only getting it kind of at that part of the foot. And then the middle's kind of stiff. But this is actually, I would say, like a good in between shoe. But so if you're going from like, I don't think we have any. Yours are pretty cushioned. Thanks. So these are pretty cushioned, and there's even more cushion than this. Some people have like the maximal shoe where it's like, you're floating on a cloud and whatever that. But this one's a little stiffer here. Again, this isn't saying this shoe is necessarily bad, but if you want your foot function, you need to get out of this kind of shoe and train your foot. But this one would be kind of like the average shoe that we're in. What we had with Janelle's shoe is that's going to be a shoe that's going to give you more foot function so you can transition. And then when you're feeling ready, you can get into like a shoe that I have where it's just like a rolled up thing, and when you step on a rock, it feels like you died. But you get used to that as your foot gets stronger. So basically, I hope this information was super helpful. You can use some of those strategies to get everything starting to feel good. If you want to take it deeper though and take it a step further, I do have a 4-week course that you can sign up for that's going to go deep into all the specific strategies to get you feeling pain-free, whether it's plantar fasciitis, which is the most common issue, or any other issues. If it's just you want to transition to being barefoot, it's going to help you with that. If you just want better lower body function, if you want to help with your back pain or neck pain, it's going to help with all that while focusing on the foot. So you can sign up for that at plazafitnessperformance.com. We have the link for that, and you can get on that and start basically feeling better. So that's all I got for you guys today. Awesome. All right.